We all grew up hearing the same story about relationships. You're told that if you find the right woman, treat her well, and commit fully, then you'll be happy, loved, and fulfilled. The fairy tale ending, the reward for being a good man. But here's the twist. More and more men are doing everything they were taught to do, being loyal, being providers, being emotionally available, and they're still failing. Relationships are falling apart. Women are leaving, and men are sitting there wondering what the hell went wrong when they followed the script perfectly. Marriage rates are declining. Divorce rates remain brutal, with men often on the losing end emotionally and financially. And a lot of men secretly feel exhausted, confused, and resentful, even when they're trying their hardest to make things work. So what's really going on? Why do most men fail in relationships even when they have good intentions? And more importantly, what are the hidden psychological barriers that keep sabotaging them, barriers most men don't even know exist? Today, I'm going to break down 5 psychological barriers that destroy men in relationships. Some of these will be uncomfortable to hear, but if you're honest with yourself, you might recognize patterns that have been running your love life into the ground for years. And just to be clear, this isn't about bashing women or blaming anyone. It's about looking inward, because the hard truth is this. Most men fail in relationships not because of bad luck or bad women, but because of unresolved issues inside themselves that they've never been forced to confront. Reason number 1 is what I call the nice guy trap. Most men were raised to believe that being nice, agreeable, and self-sacrificing is the path to a woman's heart. Be the gentleman. Don't rock the boat. Put her needs first, always. On the surface, this sounds reasonable. But here's the psychological trap underneath it. When a man constantly suppresses his own needs, opinions, and boundaries to keep a woman happy, he's not being loving. He's being manipulative. He's performing niceness to get approval, validation, and affection in return. And women can feel this. It doesn't feel like strength or genuine care, it feels like weakness with an agenda. The nice guy thinks he's being selfless, but deep down he's keeping a mental scorecard. He expects that if he gives enough, she'll eventually give back the love, respect, and attraction he craves. And when she doesn't, when she pulls away or loses attraction, he feels betrayed. He gets resentful. He thinks, I did everything right, and she still doesn't appreciate me. But the real problem is that he never showed her who he actually was. He showed her a performance. And you cannot build a real relationship on a performance. Women don't want a man who abandons himself to please them. They want a man who has a spine, who knows what he wants, and who doesn't need her approval to feel worthy. The nice guy kills attraction because he makes the woman his entire source of validation. And that pressure eventually suffocates the relationship. Reason number 2 is emotional illiteracy. Most men were never taught how to process, express, or even identify their own emotions. From childhood, the message was clear. Don't cry. Don't complain. Man up. Figure it out. Emotions were seen as weakness, so men learned to suppress them, numb them, or convert them into the only acceptable male emotion, anger. The problem is that relationships require emotional intelligence. They require a man who can recognize when he's feeling insecure, hurt, or afraid, and communicate that without exploding or shutting down completely. But most men don't have this skill. When emotions come up, they either go silent and withdraw, or they lash out and escalate conflicts into wars. Women often complain that their man doesn't talk or doesn't open up. But it's not that he doesn't want to, it's that he literally doesn't have the internal vocabulary to describe what's happening inside him. He feels something uncomfortable, and his only tools are avoidance or aggression. This creates a cycle where the woman feels emotionally alone, the man feels attacked and misunderstood, and the relationship slowly dies from a lack of real connection. Emotional illiteracy doesn't just hurt the relationship, it hurts the man. He walks around carrying years of unprocessed pain, shame, and fear, and he has no way to release it. So it leaks out sideways through passive aggression, addiction, workaholism, or emotional unavailability. Until a man learns to face his inner world and develop emotional fluency, he will keep repeating the same patterns and wondering why every relationship feels the same. Reason number 3 is what I call the validation void. A lot of men enter relationships not because they're ready for partnership, but because they're trying to fill an emptiness inside themselves. They're looking for a woman to make them feel worthy, wanted, and enough. They're looking for external validation to heal internal wounds. This usually traces back to childhood. Maybe he never got approval from his father. Maybe his mother's love felt conditional. Maybe he was bullied or rejected and developed a core belief that he's not good enough as he is. Whatever the origin, he now carries this void, this hunger for proof that he matters. When he gets into a relationship, he unconsciously makes the woman responsible for filling that void. Her attention becomes his drug. Her validation becomes his sense of self. And this creates a deeply unhealthy dynamic. He becomes needy, jealous, clingy, or controlling, not because he's a bad person, but because he's terrified of losing the one source that makes him feel okay about himself. The tragedy is that no woman can fill this void. It's a bottomless pit. No matter how much love she gives, it will never be enough because the wound is inside him, not outside. And eventually, the woman gets exhausted. She feels like she's his therapist, his mother, and his source of self-esteem all in one. That's not a relationship. That's emotional labor, and most women will eventually leave a man who makes her responsible for his sense of worth. Reason number 4 is fear of vulnerability. Men are conditioned to be strong, unshakable, and in control at all times. Showing weakness is dangerous. Admitting fear is shameful. So men build walls, emotional armor designed to protect them from being hurt, judged, or rejected. The problem is that intimacy requires vulnerability. Real connection happens when two people can be seen fully, including the messy, imperfect, scared parts. But most men won't go there. They keep the armor on even in their closest relationships. They deflect with humor. They change the subject. They pretend everything is fine when it's not. This creates a barrier that the woman can feel but can't quite name. She senses that she doesn't really know him. She feels like she's in a relationship with his representative, not his real self. And over time, this lack of depth makes the relationship feel hollow. She may stay, but she'll feel alone. Or she'll eventually leave to find someone who's willing to actually let her in. Here's the paradox most men don't understand. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the ultimate form of strength. It takes far more courage to admit you're scared, hurt, or struggling than it does to pretend you have it all figured out. And when a man can be vulnerable without collapsing into neediness, it actually deepens attraction and trust. Women don't want a robot. They want a human being who's strong enough to be real. Reason number 5 is unhealed attachment wounds. The way you learn to bond with your caregivers as a child creates a template for how you bond with romantic partners as an adult. This is called your attachment style. And most men have never examined theirs. If you had caregivers who were inconsistent, sometimes loving, sometimes cold, sometimes absent, you likely developed an anxious attachment style. You crave closeness but constantly fear abandonment. You overthink everything. You need constant reassurance. You panic when she pulls away even slightly. If you had caregivers who were emotionally unavailable or dismissive, you likely developed an avoidant attachment style. You crave independence. Intimacy feels suffocating. When a woman gets too close, you instinctively pull away to protect yourself. You might sabotage good relationships because deep down, you don't trust that love is safe. These patterns run on autopilot. Most men don't even realize they're doing it. They just know that relationships always seem to follow the same painful script. The anxious man keeps choosing women who are emotionally unavailable, recreating the chase he experienced in childhood. The avoidant man keeps pushing away women who actually love him, because closeness triggers an unconscious fear of engulfment or loss of self. Until you understand your attachment wounds and actively work to heal them, you will keep attracting the same types of partners and experiencing the same types of pain. Your relationships will feel like a loop because psychologically, they are. At the end of the day, this isn't just about dating tips or relationship hacks. It's about psychological transformation. Most men fail in relationships because they've never done the inner work required to succeed in them. They're trying to build something real with a foundation full of cracks. Men who understand these barriers, the nice guy trap, emotional illiteracy, the validation void, fear of vulnerability, and unhealed attachment wounds aren't weak for admitting them. They're ahead of 90% of men who will go their entire lives blaming women, blaming bad luck, or blaming the world without ever looking in the mirror. A man who takes responsibility for his psychology is a man who can actually change. He stops repeating cycles. He stops choosing the wrong partners. He stops sabotaging good things. And when he finally enters a relationship from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness, he builds something that lasts. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware. Because awareness is the first step to breaking patterns that have controlled you your entire life. That's what this whole video comes down to. Most men think their relationship failures are just bad luck or bad women. But the truth is, their unconscious patterns they didn't choose and probably don't even see, are running the show. The moment you wake up to those patterns is the moment you take back control of your love life. If this gave you something to think about, hit like and subscribe. It helps more men find this kind of content, and it tells me to keep making videos that go deeper into men's psychology, self-mastery, and what it actually takes to win in life and relationships. I'll see you in the next one.